This is how jewelry used to be made in the early part of the early 1900s, turn of the century. They used dyes, and we've got a really good collection. And most of this stuff came out of the East Coast, out of Providence and Massachusetts, and out of Boston. So today I've been looking at this is one I want to do today. It's an Art Nouveau piece, and what it is, this makes a bracelet, and it's called a step and repeat die, and I'll show you how that works. So let's get started. We're going to put this in a drop hammer, and we're going to create what's called a force. We're going to use a bar of copper to create a male force, and I'm going to heat this bar up. you've seen the process of how we went from a die to pouring the silver, rolling it out into sheet, and then striking it into this die. And the purpose of these dies, this is sort of the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. And what these dies allowed was for the average person to be able to afford a piece of jewelry. Not until this type of production came around was the average family or person of modest means, the average worker, was never able to afford jewelry until probably the early 1900s, when this kind of technology came about. So what it did was it captures the art in a block of steel. So a person, a craftsman, sat down and chased and engraved the master hub that this piece was made from. And by doing that, it enables his work to live on. Had this person just done this one bracelet, there's probably 100% chance that it would have been melted and sold for scrap probably 50, 60 years ago when silver hit 50 bucks. But because they spent the time to make a die, this piece of art will live on pretty much forever. When we got these dies, they were completely rusted and they had been pretty much forgotten about. These were made by a company called Karr, and they were out of Boston. These are early 1900s, this type of die right here. You can see the way it was machined. See these straight lines? It was done on a planer, which is a very early type of machine tool. And they actually planed this entire block of steel. So it wasn't done on a milling machine, it was done on a planer. It's really interesting when you look at these things and to see how they're made. It was all done to taper it so that it wedges into the drop hammer. And you can see where this was all done by hand. But yeah, so here we are 100 years later or more, and we're striking the same die that an artist made at the turn of the century, and we're making a beautiful piece of jewelry from it. You can see it replicates his work exactly. So anyway, I appreciate you guys watching our videos, and thanks a lot.